You are listening to the In Between Sales Calls podcast with Derek Shebby, episode 11. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. You know, my son right now, he's in kindergarten and he's got chess after school. And we thought it'd be fun for him to get into it because he's very analytical. And I go to pick him up one day and the teacher says he's doing great in class, but he's not playing enough outside of school. And so I said, well, how can I help? And he says, well, you need to beat him a lot. So the teacher looks at my son then and he says, your dad is going to beat you and that's okay. Because why? My son says, because that's how I get better. And I'm watching this thinking, well, I don't even know how to play chess. I mean, I could figure it out, but not really. And so what ended up happening is I said, well, I've got to learn this skill because I want to help him get better at this. And I know this is something that obviously we're paying for and we know he's going to enjoy it, but I now had to take this over. And so I started learning online, looking online to see who the best chess people were, because that was the first place I wanted to start. I can imagine that from a sales standpoint, you might be thinking, well, who can I learn from in sales? And so you look them up and that's why you found me. Well, I'm looking up people for chess and I find that the top chess person in the world is this guy named Magnus Carlsen. He's 29 now, but he was a chess prodigy and he started winning, at early ages, like 12. And he was like the best in the world long time ago. So he's unbelievable. And so I'm like, okay, well, I should probably learn from this guy if he's doing any sort of teaching. And I found out in a roundabout way that he owns this website called chess24.com. And so I started going on Chess24 thinking, okay, maybe I can learn something here because I've got to help my son play this game and help him get better. And I started finding that they have all these tournaments that were going on. And so they would do these tournaments and they'd be live. And so if you can picture this, there's a big chessboard on the screen and then you see these top chess player in the world people and their video chat. So it's like you'll see their face right there. They would be talking their way as they were making moves in the chess game. And I'm watching this and I'm going, this is crazy because you get to see these people at such a high caliber. People making millions of dollars a year playing chess, and they're talking about their thoughts and they're calculating what's going to happen, and they're basically figuring everything out before it even happens, and way over my head because I'm just trying to figure out how to play the game. Anyway, long story short, I started figuring out how to play to some extent, and they had this final for the tournament came out online, and basically this tournament was 6 months long, and the last two people that made it in the bracket was, of course, Magnus, the world chess champion. And he's there and everyone's thinking he's going to win. And he's up against this new prodigy, this guy named Ali Reza, and he's from Iran. And he's 16. So this is a 16-year-old that made it to the final with the world champion. And of course, Ali Reza is also considered to be like, top 10 in the world as well, but he's 16. And so, they had this match a few days ago live online. And there must have been, it's probably got millions and millions of views at this point because it's in the chess world. There's nothing bigger than this. Magnus is playing somebody in the final. It's just unbelievable. So I'm watching this and it was incredible because Magnus, the world champion, he was flustered the whole time. I mean, he was out of character. I've seen him play so many matches, but here he is playing against this 16-year-old that he's played before. And he was just getting crushed. And it was best of 9 for points. And here we go. It comes into the last round. So they're both tied at 8. And whoever basically won the last round ends up winning the tournament. And Magnus was always sweeping everyone, 9 wins to nothing. And he was always crushing everybody. But he was just from the first game all the way to this last game, he just wasn't himself. And anyway, the last game he loses. And it was really quite amazing to see it. But what was the biggest piece for me to notice out of this is that you got this person who's the highest caliber in the world. It's common knowledge. It's not just some people might think that like everyone in the world recognizes this individual as being the best in the world. And here he is playing against a 16-year-old prodigy and Ali Reza beats him. And so he starts talking about his loss and he basically says that, hey, all credit to Ali Reza. He deserves the win. He won this. And he says, I'm clearly just out of shape. That's what he said. I'm out of shape. I thought that was such an interesting choice of words that he used because it's not like he's working out here. I mean, it's a mental workout, but he's saying he was out of shape. And so what does that mean? What does that mean for sales? Well, Ali Reza clearly, his competition was clearly working day and night to get ready for this match, to get ready to play him. And he probably was working on a million other things and he probably wasn't taking it as seriously. He wasn't ready to perform. And in sales, What you might not realize, and this comes from experience to see, is that your competition out there, they're invisible to you. You don't see them. You're not going to be able to look at them across the room all the time. I mean, sometimes you'll cross paths with them walking into an office, or you'll hear that the person that you're trying to beat in a deal is also working with that same person. But in most cases, you're not going to see your competition. And that's why I'm calling them, they're invisible. The rookie salesperson looks at their competition as being someone that's not good. That's the worst thing that you can possibly think. You've got to think that your competition out there is just like you. They want to win. They want to become the best. They want to make the most money. They want to beat you on this deal. They want to take your customers away from you, just like you want to do that to them. And you know what? They're good people. For you to think that they're doing it in a slimy way is silly. They're doing it ethically, they care, and they're trying hard. And you may be the top person at your company. You may be on your way to doing that. You may think in your mind that you're the best, but Magnus Carlsen is the best in this entire sport in the world. And he got beat by a 16-year-old. That 16-year-old worked harder than he did to be ready and to plan on beating him. And he wasn't seeing him. If he was watching his competition work hard to prepare, that's one thing. But it's not how it goes, right? We don't get to see that in sales. It's not like a Rocky movie montage where you see Rocky working out and then you see the other person working out and you go, who's working out harder? It's not going to happen. You just see yourself and you think that you're better than them, but you can't underestimate your competition. So how can you stay in shape and make sure that you're defeating this invisible competition? I've got 4 main ways for you to work on and for you to think about, on a daily basis. The first thing, and I know I'm big on talking about this, you probably can guess, is you got to role play. And you got to think about what your competition will do. That means they're probably going to try to find ways to poke through your proposal or trying to poke through things that your company can't do as well as them. And you've got to be prepared to counteract those. And you got to be prepared to talk about your strengths and how your company's a better organization for your competition to work with. And you need to practice saying that verbally, because your customer could say this to you right on the spot. They can say, hey, it's a real tight race, but why should we go with you? What are you going to say? Well, you need to be ready. And the best way for you to do this is you need to plan on them being amazing with their scripts, with what they're saying to the customer. So you need to have solid answers, and you practice role-playing these, and you need to have solid answers to any of the main questions you're going to get. You know all those, right? I've talked about those plenty of time. You also need to be confident with those responses, and you need to be confident with your follow-up. So as soon as you do something for the customer and they ask you for something in return, you need to be the first person to get it back. And it needs to be solid. It needs to look professional. It needs to be amazing. You got to work on your endurance also to stay there in a role play, because these meetings with customers could be like a marathon. You're just going back and forth. They're asking you difficult questions and challenging questions, and you need to be mentally ready for these and prepared to have the right answers. The second thing outside of role play that I recommend you do to get ready for your invisible competition is you need to update your collaterals. Make sure all your templates are ready to go. That means your first appointment templates. If you have a meeting online in a video, or if you get a chance to meet someone in person, however it is, you need to have your slide deck or your deck, whatever it is that you're going through with the customer, ready. Your examples, your case studies. The same thing goes for your proposal templates. How does that look? Does that look professional? Does that represent you being the best, you being great? Your email responses. You know that you're going to get the same questions and the same responses in email. And so how good are your responses back? How simple are they? How professional do they look? How about your implementation questionnaires? After you sell a deal and get it implemented, how are you following up with the customer? How does that look? I would make sure that you use this time to update those collaterals. Be that professional salesperson they want to meet with. The third thing that I recommend you do to defeat your invisible competition is to stay top of mind with your current customers. You've got to think that right now, your competition is trying to win over your customers. They are. For you to think, no, they probably aren't. I'm tight in there. I've got a great relationship. You're crazy, because you are trying just as hard to break into theirs, right? You need to be thinking that they're talented and they're trying to break into your customers and they want them bad. So you need to counteract that and stay top of mind. Contact them. Check to see how they're doing. Just make sure you're being a resource and bringing value to them, all parts of the sales cycle, whether you sold something or whether you can sell something or not. The last thing I recommend you do is to represent yourself as an ideal alternative to these new customers. So all these new places that you're trying to win over from your invisible competition, you need to think, how can you constantly represent yourself as a safe decision, as a safe alternative to staying with them? You want that person to be thinking, you know what, maybe I should give Derek a shot. He seems like the ideal vendor for our business. The 4 ways that I'm giving you to defeat your invisible competition are making sure you're role playing. That's the first thing. Update your collaterals, all your collaterals that you possibly could use inside of a sales cycle. Stay top of mind with your current customers and represent yourself as an ideal alternative to all these new customers you're going after. Look, you got to stay sharp. You got to stay in shape, like Magnus Carlsen said. Even though you could be the best, but someone that works harder can be beating you. You've got to believe, you've just got to believe that your competition out there is trying to get more prepared than you. You may not see them. They could be invisible, but they are there, and they want nothing more than to take your customers and win those big deals right away from you. Don't let them catch you out of shape. That's it for episode 11. Thank you for letting me join you in your sales journey. See you next time. Hey, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, then you have to come check out my free 5-day sales training course of my proven Sales in 21 Days program. I designed it to help you make more money in sales. Whether you're looking for a fast start or just looking to sharpen your skills, you can't afford to miss it. Come get free access today over at www.salesin21days.com. That's www.salesin21days.com. I'd love to have you join the program. See you there.